Hi, I'm Rodney, and in today's video, we're going to make a finished image that looks like this. Photoshop. For some people, it's a four-letter word that they just cannot stand. So in today's video, we're going to try and make it really easy to go from images straight out of the camera to a finished image that looks really good, that's got really good depth to it, and blending a couple of images together. And we're just going to watch 10 seconds of kind of the behind the scenes of how this all happened, and then we're going to put it together into a final finished image.
Oh yeah, count down. 1, 2.
All right, so as these came out of the camera, this is what they look like. And there's that, half a second later, that and that. So we just kind of put these on. This was done with these were done with the D850. And this is just kind of straight out of the camera. It was like click, 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 click. You heard it on the video. This is how it looked. So overexposed. Again, the highlights are overexposed, but everything else is black and overexposed. What we want is to combine these three images to make an image like this. And so that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go through the process of how to do that from start to finish. Select all of them here in Camera Raw and just make some light adjustments. So we're going to take the highlights here and we're going to bring them to like -50 or so. What we really want to do with that is just take all that burnt out stuff and make it go away. So we're going to bring the whites down to -40-ish or so. Now if we look at that, just that, we'll take a peek at that in a second here and see what a difference that made. But we're also going to warm the temperature up a little bit because that fire should be nice and warm. So we're going to bring it up to like 5,500. We're going to bring our tint up to about +10 just to give a really nice rich color. And somewhere in that range we should be happy. As well, we're going to bring our saturation up and our vibrance up. We're going to bring these up to about 5, +5, +6, just to give us that really nice, rich glow in the fire. Now, this image here, we're going to also brighten just a little bit. So we're going to brighten this up just a tad. There we go. And we're going to take this and brighten this up just a little bit as well. And this one a little bit as well. We don't want to overexpose it, but we want that nice rich glow coming through. So when we're done that, we're simply going to Command or Control A, and we're going to open these images up. We're going to make our base layer. Now you notice as well, these are all 16-bit files here. We want to have the most color depth possible. So we want to have as much to choose from as we can. So we go with the 16-bit file so that we've got all that detail, and we can choose to use or alter it from there. So first, this is going to be our base image. It's going to be the flames at the top. So we're going to take this image here. We're going to copy it, Control or Command C. We're going to come back. We're going to paste it on here. Then we're simply going to grab a layer mask and we're going to paint out that top little bit here, just because we want those flames to kind of keep on creeping. And so we're going to paint them in just so that we just keep on going. There we go. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. So that's just adding a little more flames and filling it out a little bit. Now we're going to grab our first image here. grab that, we're going to copy that, Command or Control C, and we're going to come back and we're going to paste that on top of everything as well. Now, again, we're going to make a layer mask, and we're going to grab our brush, and at a opacity of about 100% or so, we're just going to start to paint in that second and third image, which is just giving us really a full batch of flames. So the flames move from one image to the next. As they're coming through, they come across the ceiling of this space that we're in. So we just want to take and add all those flames we can in here, so that, again, we started off with that. We're adding a second group, and then we're adding the third group. We've got kind of all of that coming in. Now, you'll notice that the base here is a little bit dark, and I want to brighten that up just a bit. So we're just going to go Command or Control J, make a layer copy. We're going to turn the layer style from normal to screen. And what that's going to do is it's just going to brighten up those flames a bit, and I'm going to bring that opacity down to about 75%, just so we get a little bit more color and density in that. I'm loving that. We're happy with that. Perfect. All right, so what next? Well, we've got great flames here, but everything in the foreground is really, really dark, and we want to get rid of that. So we're going to go back to Bridge here. We're going to grab a copy of this. And this is the original here. But we're going to take this and we're going to brighten this up a little bit. So we're going to take and now we're just going for the foreground here. So we're going to bring this up to about, oh boy, somewhere in that 160 range. It looks good. Now we're going to bring our temperature down a little bit. I want to cool this off because I don't want him, I want a bit more of a natural tone on his face and not that warm tone that you get from the fire. So I'm going to bring that down. Boy, it's at 2800 there. Maybe 31, somewhere in that range. And we're going to bring our tint up again and just bring it up to somewhere in that 10 range. And that should be good. I'm going to bring, again, my exposure up a little, or my vibrance, my saturation up, and my whites and my highlights are coming down. But really that doesn't matter because it's all about foreground here. So I'm actually going to bring my shadows up a fair bit as well, just so that with that I can start to see more of the detail. So that looks perfect. I'm going to grab that. And you might be sitting there going, that looks horrible. All of the flames are burnt out and it's not great. That's okay. We're simply taking this. Again, we're going to highlight it, copy it. We're going to bring it into our base image here. And we're going to paste it on top of everything else. Now we're going to make a layer mask on this. And this time, instead of just making a normal layer mask, we're going to hold our Option or Alt key, and we're going to make it a black mask right off the bat. Now we're going to grab a brush, we're going to hit X on our keyboard and make it a white brush, and we're going to start to paint in our foreground detail. So we just want to see more of what's in the foreground with this. And make it so that we're not in a big black tomb. Now we're going to tweak some of this here again in a second. So I'm going to overpaint and then I'll paint out the detail that I want back. So I'm going to overpaint here a little bit, and then when it comes to the fire, we're simply going to hit X on our keyboard. We're going to come in down here, and at about 80%, we're slowly going to start to paint out the stuff that we want to look like it originally did. So now we got our fire back to where it was. We've just brightened up our whole background area here. So I'm going to bring that down just a bit as well. That was too much, so we're going to do that about 40%. And there we go. And again, we're going to make sure we paint out the flames in here. This doesn't have to be super bright, so we'll just kind of darken that up a little bit. All right, excellent. There we go. We're happy with that. And we've brightened up some stuff. But the thing about colors and color theory is we know that fire and ice, or orange and blue, tend to be really complementary. And as we started to bring this up, you'll notice that all of a sudden we got a little bit of blue tone here, and the blue really sets things off. It just looks a lot better. So what we are going to do is we're going to go back to bridge here. A couple of minutes after this, we did some other shooting, and Brandon was still fire spinning, but we had more light, exposed it differently, so we had more light in the background here. So this is just, we're just in a drainage tunnel, and it's quite a large space, concrete, which is great because it's all fireproof, and this is just light from daylight coming through. So we're going to take that, and now we're going to adjust this, and we're just going to steal the background from this. So we're going to start off by brightening up our background a fair bit. We're going to bring it up to, I don't know, plus 150, somewhere in that range. For this, we're going to bring our color temperature down. I'm going to go back to somewhere in the 3200, 28, 32, somewhere in that range. Oh, I like that. Nice and blue. 2650. And we're going to bring in a bit more of that magenta. I'm going to love that. That's excellent. We're going to bring our saturation up. I'm going to bring it way up on this. We're going to go like plus 13, 14, somewhere in that range. Our saturation and our vibrance. So now that blue is looking really rich, and I'm liking what it's doing. So that is good. I'm simply going to press open on that. We're going to give this a go. So now I'm just going to grab this, I'm going to copy it, and we're going to lay it on top of our original image here. So as we lay that down, you see that it's not totally lined up. We'll deal with that. But we get a really nice blue in here, and now we're going to start to paint back. So again, we're going to simply, for this, we're going to go Option and hit a layer mask. And now we're going to paint back what we really want. So we're in white. I'm going to start at about 80%. And I'm just going to start painting some atmosphere back here. Boy, that's really nice. I'm going to do that at 100% actually, just so I don't have any ghosting. And if you'll notice that there was a little bit of a tilt in the car. It moved, the tripod moved just a little bit in the process. So I just want to make sure that I don't mess anything up. It's all nicely aligned, and it looks like it all belongs together. Okay, so here's where I need to hit X, and I need to paint out this so that the Brandon from the spinning on the one doesn't come into this image. And this is all nice and where it belongs. Now this here, you'll notice the foreground here is a cooler tone than it is over here. It's because our white balance is cooler here, so we're just going to take and at about 50% here, we're going to paint that out because we just want a much warmer white balance on that foreground so that it all looks like the fire's lighting this stuff up, but we get that nice glow in the back. So if we look at what we did with that, we just added that really, really nice cool tone, which when we zoom out, does an amazing job of balancing the warmth in here, that fire and ice. So that's great. From here, we have one last thing we're going to do. Now, before we go to a finished image, we're going to make sure that we clone out the tripod that's here and our other subject here. This was done on a tour. We were just finishing off 5 days of landscape photography in California, and I figured, you know, I'm going to do something a little different for our guests on this one, and we're gonna do some fire shooting. So that was what this came from. But we're gonna clone these people out because we don't want them there. I'm gonna spare you the whole process of doing that, because if you want to learn how to clone, if you don't know how to do it already, I can throw it in the comments. I will make a video just for you. But if you do know it, I don't want to waste your time in that. So the last thing we're going to do is we've got this light coming back here, and Brandon looks, there's a fairly defined, but ideally it'd be nice to just give him a little bit of a glow around him. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. One is we can select him in Photoshop, and then we can go into our effects panel and just put a stroke around him. That's one way of doing it. Assuming that our selection, our smart selection, is a good one, which is a risky proposition given the fact that if we look at this here, we've got dark on dark, and Photoshop's going to have a hard time nailing this down. So what I would typically tend to do is just simply add a new layer, and this is a little more tedious, but it is something that's quite rewarding. In the end, it'll be worth it. So we're going to just take a cool tone and bring it in here. We're going to go little bit by little bit, and we're going to do the smallest little rim light you can possibly imagine. And we're going to do this at 100%, so it's going to be really, really bright. And we are simply going to paint. I hear your groans already. Yes, this is tedious, and it's a bit of work. And for some of this, we're not really sure exactly where that line from Brandon extends and where the stuff from the car is, but that's okay. The vehicle behind him was just burnt out. It was there when we got there. We did not do it. But it certainly added character to the space. And was excellent. So we're not being super precise here, but we're just kind of giving this a bit of an outline, just so that we've got a little bit of a rim light going on. And we go, you know, that cool tone in the background, it would be nice to see that it's actually giving us some definition and separating our subject from the background. So we're just going to give him just a bit of a rim light here. And I hear you all saying, that's not really a great rim light, but it'll get there. No worries. Those of you who watch Bob Ross, it's like, yeah, the little birdies are going. Well, the little rim light's coming. It's coming. Just needs a little time, a little bit of love. So we all give it a little bit of love, and it will look amazing. There we go. So when we zoom out, we've just drawn in this little rim light. I'm going to go all the way down to his shoes here. I know it's going to look a little awkward, but that's okay. We're doing okay. So, looks fake? Yes, it does. We're going to do a Command J or Control J, which is just a layer copy. We're going to take that, we're going to filter it, we're going to go to the blur. We're going to grab a Gaussian blur here, and we're going to blur it at about, how about 3.3? There we go. So we've blurred our line. Now what we're going to do is we're simply going to bring our opacity of that down, and we're going to bring it down to somewhere in the range of 15, 20, somewhere in that, just so he doesn't blend into the car. We've got a backlight coming here, so it's feasible that we could have a nice rim light around him. And I'm just going to bring that up a little bit more. There we go. This part here, probably not getting much in there, so I'm just going to put a layer mask on that and add about 40% or so. I'm going to paint that out just so that it starts to slowly blend like you think it would. All right, so a couple layers here. We'll just start from our base layer here, turn them all on. First thing we did is we used a multiply blend here and brightened up this fire, mixed in the rest of it. Then we brightened up the foreground. We grabbed another foreground and added that blue there, that ice. So we've got our fire and our ice now. And then we added a little rim light around him just to define him a little bit. And that is the end of that. From here, the next step we would do is to clone out the tripod and our other friend here we've got, and make that go away, and then we've got a finished image. What's that finished image going to look like, you ask yourself? Good question. So in the end, this is what it's going to look like when all is said and done. We've got a nice fire, we've got rich, rich flames, and we've got a nice blue fire and ice going on here. So that is how we create this finished image in Photoshop in a mere 15 minutes. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. And if you want to leave a comment, feel free to leave that in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day.